from the Four Corners and welcome to a Ninjago Season 13 episode review. In today's video, we'll be reviewing episode 2 of Ninjago Master of the Mountain, labeled as Into the Dark. There's a lot of cool points to go through and a out of 4 rating to get to, so without further ado, let's get started. This episode kicks off with the ninja meeting the royalty of the kingdom of Shintaro. It looks like the royal family only consists of King Vangelis and Princess Vanya. Princess Vanya herself is pretty intrigued to see the ninja. She seems to be a fan of the ninja and pretty crazy about all of them, but she seems to be a little bit extra crazy for Cole. She talks to all the ninja, asking them about their previous adventures, and the ninja are more than ready to tell their stories, but when she comes to Cole, it looks like they have some type of chemistry with each other because she does stare at Cole and Cole stares at her back, and they have kind of a moment. And later on that day, when Cole's going to sleep, Lloyd comes up to Cole in a very creepy way and says, "Cole, we need to talk." And that has to be one of my favorite Lloyd lines because it's super funny and I really like how his expressions looked when he said that. Cole denies that he feels anything for Vanya, but it is pretty easy to see through him and see that Cole actually likes Vanya. Lloyd, on the other hand, is very skeptical and is determined that all princesses are officially evil and will be backstabbing, so he's trying to advise Cole, but Cole's having none of that and he kind of ignores Lloyd. After Lloyd leaves is when the real story or plot for season 13 actually begins, and it kicks off with this weird purple little thing that we know to be a gecko coming up to Cole's bed. It looks like the gecko thought there was another person going by the name of Gilly on that bed, and when Cole turns around it realizes it's not Gilly and immediately starts to run away. Cole's able to get the gecko still for enough time to see his mother's necklace, but then the gecko manages to get the necklace back and run away. So you can see how they're kind of setting up for the rest of the season through this scene. It's easy to tell that this is a pretty significant scene and they're setting up for some stuff that's going to be seen in future episodes. Cole's reaction to this whole thing is calling all the ninja in the middle of the night, and as he tells the ninja that a little purple monster had his mother's necklace, the ninja are pretty skeptical and they don't really believe Cole, which I thought was a little out of place because they're ninjas, right? They know that little things can easily escalate into very grave big things. So I feel like the ninjas that have saved Ninjago almost 12 times before this should kind of jump at that and kind of be a little bit more suspicious than they should have been. But I also give them the benefit that it was midnight and they were kind of sleepy, so it's kind of understandable, but still you would kind of expect them to jump at any sign of danger no matter how small, because the ninja of all people should know what little things turn into. Coming back to the story, Cole ends up walking back to his room to go back to sleep, but it does look like Princess Vanya is following him, and she explains how she also had an imaginary purple friend called Mr. Sparkles, and it turns out it wasn't actually an imaginary friend because Cole's seen the same thing too. This is the part of the episode where Cole and Vanya actually go into the dark. They go into the mines of Shintaro illegally. They're not really allowed to do that, but they still do anyway. And so as Cole and Vanya make it into the mines of Shintaro, you'll see a lot of familiar things. For example, you'll see the Mino creature, the skull dungeon. If you also follow the sets, you'll realize that this is the place most of these sets will be based off of, or at least the backdrop for most of these sets will be based off of. Cole can immediately see that a lot of people are being used as slaves by the Skull Sorcerer in there, and we actually see the Skull Sorcerer in this episode, which is actually very great. I'm so happy that the bad guy in a Ninjago season is finally playing an aggressive role in the season. Usually the bad guys, especially in the past few seasons, are playing a big role in the season, but they don't really do much. This Skull Sorcerer is doing so much and he's already playing it very aggressive. But anyways, Cole sends Vanya back to get help, and Cole gets a bit cocky and comes down to fight everybody. It looks like his powers don't work in this mine, and they'll explain that in another episode for why they don't. And as Cole's powers don't work, he just tries to take it old school and punch people, but then the Skull Sorcerer pulls off a very predictable move and resurrects those skeletons that Cole punches, and these skeletons get the better of Cole, which lands Cole straight into the jail cell. Overall, there's a lot of good things to say about this episode, kind of like the bad guy finally playing an aggressive role in the season and actually showing up at least in the first 2 episodes. And also, it feels like the season just kind of dived in. It's already pretty interesting. The only negative point is that the ninja's reaction to what Cole said and how they completely disregarded what Cole said was a bit odd because they are ninjas and they should know how to handle things like this. And now that we're done with all of my points, we can finally rate this episode out of 4 since this is the Four Corners. I'll be rating this episode 3.8 out of 4, and I'm enjoying the season a lot already, and I can't wait to see how the season picks up a bit more because you can tell that the season is still waiting to shift gears and there's so much more that the season has to bring. Anyways, that's all for this episode review. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.